Cantor Luxury Apartments by Vincent Cantu and Ricardo Rao.
During the site selection stage, we had a certain criteria that we wanted to meet. We wanted a size of 160 by 120 feet, minimal demolition and earthwork, a place located downtown, residential zoning, a nice view of the river, and good road access. We looked at another place on East Austin near 6th Street and I-35, but ultimately decided that 615 Upson Street, Austin, Texas 78703 was the best location.
Our design included a mixed-use first floor with 11 stories of residential floors. The size of the site is 100 feet by 140 feet. It was modeled in Rhino 3D. An IdeaMaker slicer was used for 3D printing. For feasibility calculations, we needed to estimate how much money we will need to invest in order to build the project, how much money we're going to be able to generate each year from rent, and how much money it's going to cost to run the project every year. For land acquisition, we use websites like Zillow to determine how much properties in the area we're going for. For demolition, we got a local quote, and for construction, we reached out to a friend who works on the investments team at a local contractor. She gave us her estimate for the number it takes to build multifamily in Austin. This was $350 a square foot. Again, for revenue, we used websites like Zillow, Opendoor in order to estimate rent values for our building.
The other part of our feasibility was the operations and maintenance costs. For gas, we researched average monthly bills for 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, and 4-bedroom apartments, then multiplied the averages by the amount of 2, 3, and 4-bedroom apartments that we provide. For electricity, we used real Austin, Texas data from 2018 to figure out the monthly average kilowatts per hour per residential consumer, and then multiplied that by the energy costs per kilowatt hour, in addition to a monthly customer charge. For the water costs, we based it off the gallon consumption per month for the 78703 zip code, then divided by the population of that zip code, giving us the monthly gallons consumed per person. We could then figure out a rate for the range of gallons used for a standard 5/8 inch meter size. The leasing agent, janitor, and maintenance technician salaries and pay were all found on hiring websites like Indeed and ZipRecruiter.
Moving on to life cycle costing, we used a study period of 25 years. Reaching out to a friend who worked at a real estate development fund, we were able to estimate a nominal rate of 7% and a construction loan at 8%, and we chose to pay this back over 25 equal installments, as at the end of 25 years we plan to sell the property. For inflation, we used economist experts for the next 10% and used that number for our entire 25 years. Our construction duration was 2 years, and our real rate was 4%. Undertaking our life cycle costing, we found that our life cycle cost was negative $78.9 million. Here you will see the calculations of our expected uniform annual cost. We found it to be negative $1.06 million. Our structure was modeled at a custom 1 inch equals 58.33 feet scale. It was printed using raised 3D printers and then glued to a cardboard map of the site. The print time was 6 hours and 53 minutes.
We created a schedule of our project by outlining key activities throughout our project with a rough estimate of the amount of time each activity took. We then figured out which activity we needed to complete in order to advance to the next step of the project. After organizing this information in a chart, we were able to use what we learned in class and make a schedule flowchart that gives us early start, early finish, late start, and late finish days, along with float, which we can then use to find a critical path.
For this project, a lot of different research was required in order to correctly estimate various things. For our land acquisition, as well as residential and commercial rent, we used different websites like Zillow and Redfin that would give us properties for sale and properties for rent. Demolition costs we actually got a bid for. Construction costs was interesting because we used our friends who work for different real estate firms to give us their numbers, and I reached out to my former place of work, Arco Construction, to get numbers for multifamily from them. And so using these, we were able to put together our construction costs. Our first major challenge was the fact that neither of us had used the 3D printers before. So to overcome this, which was not that tough, we just had to use the online resources to do the trainings, which were pretty straightforward. And in the process, we learned how to use the 3D printer, which was a great thing. And then the other issue was that over Thanksgiving break, which was in the middle of this project, I went back to Missouri while Vinny's from Texas, so we needed Zoom to do some brainstorm and research sessions over the break.
My favorite part of doing this project was probably the scheduling aspect, because it's really fun making the schedule flowchart, and it's kind of like a little puzzle. My least favorite part was probably the research, just because it took so long, so much time, and there was some stuff that was super hard to find. You have to dig really deep.
My favorite part about the project was learning how to use the 3D printing software, because I'd always seen people 3D print things, but I'd never gone in the Texas Invention Works studio. And my least favorite part was the LCC calculations, because they were quite intense.